Coming up on this week's show, Pat Henshaw is here to take us back to Foothills Pride, plus Lisa has some book recommendations.
Welcome to the Big Gay Fiction Podcast, the show for readers and writers of gay romance fiction. If you can read it, write it, watch it, or listen to it, these two guys are going to talk about it. Now, here are your hosts, Jeff Adams and Will Knaus.
Welcome to episode number 87 of Jeff and Will's Big Gay Fiction Podcast. I'm Jeff from JeffAdamsWrites.com.
And I'm Will from WillKnaus.com. This week's episode is sponsored in part by listeners just like you. We'll have more information on how you can help support this show in just a few minutes. Happy June to you.
Indeed. Happy Pride Month.
Yes. We have already seen some pictures in social media of all the fun and shenanigans going on across the US of A.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff going on there.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll be seeing lots more as the month rolls on. Yeah. How was your week? Same old, same old?
I don't have anything to report.
I spent a piece of the week in Dallas.
Yes, you did.
And had an interesting... I got to visit my friend Dave, who we talked about on the show periodically. Hi, Dave. Who runs the First Light magazine. But then I also ended up seeing friends who I played hockey with in New York. Two people from two different parts of the world happened to be in Dallas, and that was very cool to catch up with my Tiger teammates, which was fun. I also submitted Codename Winger 2 this week. Yay!
Yay, I'm very proud of you.
And even started plotting number 3.
Well, you just don't quit.
Ta-da! Got books to write, man.
Yes, you do.
Books to write, things to turn in.
Fantastic. Good to hear.
So speaking of Pride, and we were just seconds ago.
Mere moments ago, yes.
There is a huge equality march coming up on Saturday, June 11th, that we kind of wanted to send a shout out to. Now, the mission of this march, which is going to be based in D.C., is to mobilize the LGBTQ plus communities, our loved ones, and our allies, with particular focus on those who have been actively silenced and neglected in the fight to affirm and protect our rights, our safety, and our full humanity. So important in the political climate we live in currently in this country. So not only is there the big march in D.C., there are dozens of solidarity events across the country and around the world. So if one happens to be near you and you feel safe in participating in it, we encourage you to go and wave the pride flag, if you will. You can get all the details on the upcoming march at equalitymarch2017.org. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Other good stuff this week, Coastal Magic announced its initial featured author lineup, which is very cool. Now, Coastal Magic will take place February 22 through 25, 2018, at Daytona Beach. It focuses on paranormal, urban fantasy, and romance, but there is an amazing lineup of LGBT authors that come into that mix as well, including Mary Calmé, Charlie Cochet, Poppy Dennison, Hank Edwards, Amy Lane, Shawn Michael, Terry Michaels, C.S. Poe, T.M. Smith, Victoria Sue, Damon Sway, Julia Talbot, and B.A. Tortuga. How's that for a lineup?
That's a pretty amazing lineup.
It did, though. This continues to be an event that we wish we could get to, and we're going to see how our 2018 travel schedule turns up. But certainly if you're on the East Coast or, want a February trip to Florida, and who wouldn't in the middle of winter?
That'd be nice.
Keep a watch on coastalmagicconvention.com. Their general registration will open July 1st. And I believe we'll be having some folks from Coastal Magic on a little later this summer to talk even more about what's to come there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. Okay, we have some patrons to thank this week.
Mm-hmm.
A very big thank you to our newest patron, Sarah. Sarah, welcome to the family. And we also want to thank Juliana, who has upped her pledge this week.
Yes, that it kind of gave me a little warmth to my heart when I saw that email come in that a pledge had been upped. So thank you, Juliana. That's very sweet that
yes.
you're in for more now.
Yes, we really, really genuinely appreciate it. Now, you can help support the Big Gay Fiction Podcast with a monthly pledge through Patreon. Now, for as little as 25 cents an episode, your pledge helps pay for the cost of producing and distributing this podcast. And for fans who pledge at the silver and gold levels, you'll have the exclusive opportunity to ask questions of our upcoming guests.
Mm-hmm. I will be updating the upcoming guests. There's some bad alliteration. Post a little later this week because we have booked some additional guests. We are now officially booked through our 100th episode. I know, right?
I'm gobsmacked.
I know. That's kind of crazy.
It's really amazing. So you can get more details on becoming a patron at patreon.com/biggayfictionpodcast. That's patreon.com/biggayfictionpodcast.
Yeah. And now, it's summertime, and so everybody's looking for good books to read. And I'm very pleased to be able to welcome back Lisa from the Novel Approach, who has got some recommendations for us, including she's gotten to read the new Michael Scott Garvin book. Oh my God.
Well, you're jealous, aren't you?
I am a little bit jealous that she's already read that book, and she's going to have the scoop for us coming up right here. So we're excited to have Lisa from the Novel Approach back with us. Hello.
Hi, Jeff. I'm glad to be back. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's been way too long since we've had you on talking about some books.
Yeah.
And I know from our little pre-record chat that you've gotten to read a book from an author who wrote one of my favorites of last year, Michael Scott Garvin.
I did. I had the pleasure and the great opportunity to read his upcoming book. It is called Aunt Sookie and Me. And do you want me to show the cover? Do you think
Sure, for our video audience. Let's take a look.
This is what I have, and I don't know if everybody will be able to see it, but this is the cover for Aunt Sookie and Me. And we'll be doing an official cover reveal on the blog next week with giveaways too. But that is in case you missed that, coming up next week on the blog. That's the official cover.
Yeah, we should say you're revealing it in the second week of May, and this will actually be going out in our recording will go out in June, so we'll link to it in case people missed it.
Perfect. Yes, I get all these dates mixed up. But yeah, it's a very, very different book. Very different book from A Faithful Son, set in 1964, Savannah, Georgia. The narrator is a little girl named Poppy Wainwright. Poppy is not an orphan, but she does not have any contact with her father. I don't want to reveal too much, but her mother has issues. She's got some issues with some alcohol and drug abuse, and so Poppy has lived with her grandmother in Arkansas, and her grandmother passes away, and so Poppy is shipped off to live with her Aunt Sookie in Savannah, Georgia. And the best way to describe Aunt Sookie, bless her heart, in the most Southern kind of way, is they say that the difference between being crazy and being eccentric is how much money you have in the bank. Well, I don't know. Aunt Sookie is either crazy or eccentric, but she's all the way there. She's just a cantankerous old woman. She's just Southern. I also had to think about as I was reading the book, Weezer from Steel Magnolias. Mm-hmm. She's just been in a bad mood for 40 years. She's not crazy. That's Aunt Sookie's just crazy and in a bad mood most of the time. But she takes little Poppy in. And the story is told in the first person from Poppy's point of view. And Poppy isn't at all what you think she is on the surface. You find that out eventually. And Aunt Sookie, you wouldn't think that Aunt Sookie would be the kind of woman to accept everyone at face value, but she's Poppy's biggest champion, but kind of tempers that with a little bit of tough love, but it's got a lot of humor, and then of course it wouldn't be a Michael Scott Garvin book if it didn't hit you right in the feels too. But so there's a little heartbreak, little humor. It's written very much in the language of the time. So some of the language to our more modern sensibilities might feel a little jarring, but it was it's very much realistic to the mid 1960s in the Deep South. So that was it's a fun book. I'm looking forward to it getting out there, and so we're doing the cover reveal the week of, what will that be?
May 15th.
May 15th, yes. We'll be doing the cover reveal and doing a giveaway, a couple of hard copies and a couple of e-copies of the book Michael's going to give away. So it'll be a lot of fun. So, so that one is yeah. I think people who liked A Faithful Son or loved A Faithful Son, as we both did, they will definitely recognize this as a Michael Scott Garvin book. But again, it's just in a completely different vein. So. Yeah, so
yeah, I'm excited. It's top of my TBR list for sure to be able to read that.
Yeah, absolutely. So then along the same vein of cover reveals, on May 22nd, we will have revealed T.J. Klune's A Destiny of Dragons, which is the sequel to The Lightning Struck Heart. So really, really excited that we got the opportunity to do that. And I'm sure everybody's just chomping at the bit. Well, that will be also the official reveal of the release date too. I don't even think that anybody knows the release date yet. So again, speaking in retrospect, that was really exciting, folks. If you missed it, we'll have a link back to it.
We'll definitely
I'm sure.
link up to that too, because I always love TJ covers.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to see what he does with this one, because of course Lightning Struck Heart is such a gorgeous cover on its own.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the great things about his covers is you never know what to expect, because they're all so unique, and they're So they're definitely not the cookie cutter book covers. So I think we were talking about Paul Richmond did The Lightning Struck Heart. So I'm sure that with as amazing as that cover was, and as striking as that cover was, I'm sure that A Destiny of Dragons is going to be just as fun and brilliant. So that was it. That's exciting. So yeah, we got to do that, and of course, end of May is TJ's birthday, so it all coincided with his birthday as well.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So a couple of great cover reveals we get to do in the month of May, or we got to do in the month of May. I need to remember to speak in the past tense.
Yeah, sometimes it's weird when you're living in the future a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of suck at this, don't I?
Nah, it's all good.
Oh, well, whatever.
Now, you've also read a DSP publication recently.
Oh my gosh,
that
yes.
you wanted
DSP
to
Publications.
put out there.
The series was actually, at least the first book, I think it was only the first book, was originally published by DSP before DSPP ever came along. It was published originally, I think, back in 2012. And this is Amy Ray Durison's Reawakening series. Reawakening was book 1, Resistance is book 2, and book 3, the one that I just read and reviewed yesterday, came out on May 9th, is Recovery. And this world is just, it is such a phenomenal high fantasy alternate universe series. It's full of just mythology, the dragons, and there's in this latest book everything from Nixies to Selkie to Hydra to pirates to it's just this big huge world. But she writes in such a way that it never feels overwhelming. It never feels cumbersome, like there's just too much going on. Everything is just weaves together so well, and the crux of the story is the dragons are reawakening after 1,000 years of sleep after the last dragon war. And so as the dragons are reawakening, they are having to reestablish their hordes, which is the people who pledge their hearts and loyalty to them. And this is where the dragons gain their strength. And the heart of the horde is the person with whom the dragon lord in his human form ends up being his greatest treasure, the heart of his horde. So each of the stories is, I wouldn't say that they can be read as standalones. You really just have to know the whole world in order to be able to connect. But this latest one, Recovery, it even has a little bit of a different feel. It steps out in scope to a different part of the world. The protagonist is a very uptight, very stoic and staid because of his culture. it almost there are a lot of sort of religious overtones there that which kind of ties in with the mythology, and there's politics, and it's just but he awakens the dragon, Arden, and Arden is kind of flip, kind of playful, and they kind of mix like oil and water, so that it's not quite enemies to friends, to lovers, but it takes them a while for them to understand each other and open up to each other, and it's suspense and action and just the visual, the imagery that she paints with her words is just so fantastic too. So you can picture this Hydra coming out of the water and attacking these, it's just so great. It's great. So yeah, the Reawakening series, I recommend the entire series. It's just fantastic. The Recovery by Amy Ray Durrison. So put that one on the TBR pile if you love high fantasy. I think it's a really, really fantastic series.
Sounds like a really epic summer read.
It really is. It really is. I think that epic is just the best word to describe it. It is epic fantasy because it's just it's not compartmentalized into this one little space in the universe, and it's not a story where it's kind of a linear following the relationship from beginning to end. There's just so much other stuff going on that's influencing relationships and influencing the politics, and it's ultimately too a story of good versus evil. When you want to kind of get right down to the bare bones, because there is an evil presence that they're trying, the shadow that they are trying to contain. So yeah, it's just really, really epic. It's so good, so good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you were able to share these few things with us.
Yeah, I'm so glad that I was able to be here. I'm sorry that I keep getting my tenses mixed up.
Yeah, no worries.
But, yeah, my future self apologizes to me.
All right. Well, we look forward to having you back again, hopefully in a tighter time frame this next time, to hear more recommendations.
Yes, thank you. I'm looking forward to coming back again. There's always some great books out there to recommend.
Whether you prefer to spend your summer vacation poolside, at the beach, or in the air-conditioned comfort of home, we've got the books that'll keep you turning pages all summer long.
And now to the Big Gay Fiction Podcast Sweet Summer Fun Paperback Giveaway.
We're giving you the chance to win 4 terrific books by 2 amazing authors.
The prize pack includes paperback copies of Aiden's Journey and Sex, Love, and Video Games by C. Jane Elliott, as well as Dumb Jock and Trust Me by Jeff Erno.
To enter, go to the show notes page for this episode at biggayfictionpodcast.com or visit the official giveaway page at biggayfictionpodcast.com/summer.
If you can't get enough of stories filled with young love, self-discovery, and happily ever afters, then you're not going to want to miss out on this. Go to biggayfictionpodcast.com/summer before the rafflecopter ends on Sunday, June 11th.
Just a quick reminder that this is the very last week to enter the summer paperback giveaway. Mm-hmm. So be sure and get your entries in. That lasts until June 11th.
Yes, this coming Sunday. biggayfictionpodcast.com/summer. Don't miss out. So you have read a book from one of our very favorite authors this week.
Yes, I read a book by Ari McKay, who is just on our program, talking about her process and
the new Dream Spun with Breaking Bonds.
All of the things that they have on their slate for the coming year. I read one of their backlist titles. I read The Bigger They Come, which is the first novella in their Herx Merx series. Now, this story concerns Cade. He is the Herc of the title. He runs a... Maybe I should have thought about this before I attempted to talk about it. He runs a high profile bodyguard company. There has to be a better word to describe that. What is it? A
security company?
Security company, yes. Personal security company. And he is hired to protect Jude, who is the lead scientist and the guy who is going to inherit inherit a big pharmaceutical company. And Jude is being terrorized by an evil ex-boyfriend. So Cade, Perk, is brought in to watch after him and protect him and make sure nothing bad happens to Jude. They don't like each other at first, but then once they get to know each other, they get comfortable around one another, and Cade is allowed to do his job. Things, unfortunately, begin to escalate very quickly with this crazy pants ex-boyfriend. And it turns out that they think it's going to be a better idea, since they're always together anyway, that if Cade and Jude pretend to be a couple in order to spur a more drastic response from this ex-boyfriend so they can get him arrested and locked away for good. So they end up falling in love, of course, duh. And they do get a response from the crazy ex, and everything turns out okay in the end. I really enjoyed this book, despite my craptastic description I just gave. It's actually a really terrific book. It combines my favorite all-time trope. It's a fake relationship. The fake it till you make it kind of relationship stuff. Plus bodyguards. I'm kind of into bodyguards now, I think.
Okay. The first thing I thought of, for some reason, when you said bodyguards, was that old Pamela Anderson series, VIP. I have no idea why.
That's funny. Yeah. So I'm into, it's not too surprising. I'm big alpha male protector types. I'm kind of into that. So, I really enjoyed this book. I liked Cade and Jude an awful lot. They have terrific chemistry. I thought Ari McKay really excelled at the dialogue. I thought the dialogue was really witty, and it was smart, and it helped move the plot forward. Which is, I think, I've only read a handful of Ari McKay books, but I think that's probably one of the touchstones of their particular style. It's that they reveal character and move plot forward with really terrific, insightful dialogue, which I really, really enjoy. So I highly recommend The Bigger They Come, the first in the Herc Smirk series.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I've been reading, no doubt. I just don't have anything to review this week. I'm in the middle of a few books. But what I did do, I spent my airline time getting to Dallas watching 5 episodes of Empire. The last 5 of the season. Now, you exited Empire.
I did.
Shortly after the midpoint season return.
Yes, I did.
And I kept with it. I'm so glad I did. Oh my gracious. I love how this show somehow manages to be totally over-the-top soap opera crazy, and yet also be somewhat smart. I don't quite know how they blend that together, but it works. Among the things that I really liked, and I might get spoilerly here, so if you haven't finished Empire yet, you might want to skip the next couple minutes. Felicia Rashad has been guest starring as the mother of mayoral candidate Angelo Dubois. And in one of the first episodes I was watching, Angelo and Cookie's relationship, as you would expect, dissolved in a big fiery way, because a whole bunch of said over an open mic that shouldn't have got out, and it destroyed his candidacy completely. Do not piss Felicia Rashad off. You know, we saw it every now and then when one of the Cosby kids was out of a line. You saw her angry face. She's really showing it right now on Empire. She has taken grandchildren. She is trying to destroy the Lions, and it's pretty epic to watch. I think she's back in next season as well, because that storyline did not seem to reach a completion, in my view. In addition, Cookie and Lucius have gotten back together for like the bajillionth time in the run of the 3-year series. With some fiery fireworks as they tried to open a casino in Las Vegas. I know, right? Let me just tell you, you know they shoot in Chicago, okay. And they squeak by making New York locations. Trying to make the facade of a Vegas casino was not their best moment.
Didn't work.
It was a tacky casino.
Okay, sure.
Whatever. And looked a lot like the inside of Leviticus.
Yeah, most likely.
Anyway, at the end of the episode, Lucius is blown up, and the closing of the episode is 3 months later, and he's amnesiac. Doesn't recognize anybody. So it's not quite what we had on Arrow, where they blew everything up in a Moldavian moment. Mm-hmm. But they certainly pushed some kind of a reset button here, and I'm really curious what happens with the 3-month time jump, because there's a lot of stuff going on there with Felicia Rashad and stuff that I would have expected should have played out somewhere in those 3 months. So we'll see what happens. And I really like what Fox did with the logo, because it's always been, Lucius and the Empire logo. And then for that little bit of time that Hakeem ran Empire, it actually switched out to his head in there. And then when Lucius was like not remembering anything, it was a big empty circle with the word Empire in it.
Okay.
It's kind of weird. Anyway, I really enjoyed the end of Empire and look forward to it coming back for season 4 in the fall. I also sampled when I got back this week NBC's new World of Dance competition, which reminds me a lot of a Step Up movie. There was a Step Up movie, and I can't remember if it was the fourth one or the fifth one. It was one of the 3D ones where they were having a big worldwide dance competition. That was the big hook of that movie, and this is exactly what this show reminds me of. You've got all kinds of people, all different kinds of style of dance, all different age groups. The show itself, executionally, to me, is a bit of a mess in how it moves people around and lays out the competition. The dancing, however, is really good, and the judging from J-Lo, Derek Huff, and Neo is spot on. So I'm skipping a lot of it. Jenna Tatum seems wasted in whatever capacity she's actually in. But the dance is good, so you can watch it in about 20 minutes for the hour episode and have some good dance and be on your way. So I'll be checking that out. And I'm also looking forward to So You Think You Could Dance, which comes back on Fox on June 12th. So I'll let people know what I think of that when it gets back. Now, last night, we watched a movie. We watched Matt Damon take on monsters on the Great Wall of China. Mm-hmm. In a movie called The Great Wall. I was very hesitant of this movie in the theaters. Because, dragons, Matt Damon, China, what's going on with that? Why is that mixed together? I really enjoyed it. It wasn't a great movie by any stretch, but it was a good popcorn movie.
It was an extremely good popcorn movie, and I liked it way more than I thought I ever would. Matt Damon plays essentially a soldier for hire. So he is in China, wandering around looking for the secret of black powder. He wants to take gunpowder back to
the West,
wherever he's from.
Yeah,
and he gets wrapped up in shenanigans as we learn that the Great Wall is part of a security system, essentially, to protect the Imperial City from essentially sort of alien lizard monsters from outer space. They came to Earth on a meteor centuries ago, and every 60 years they rise up and eat everything and everyone in their path before going back into hibernation. And so... and
the more they eat, the more there are, so they have to keep the critters out of the capital city.
So, yes, Matt Damon comes upon some of our Asian heroes as they are battling these crazy-ass monsters on the Great Wall. I really enjoyed this movie. I think it's really, really good. Mm-hmm. I think it kind of got caught up in the what's the word I'm looking for? The racial backlash that Hollywood experienced recently, like, Hollywood's so white, and sort of the whole, why does a movie set in Asia need a white savior character? And I think those are legitimate questions. I don't think that's what's going on with this particular movie. With this particular movie, it's just a straightforward popcorn action film. And what's going on with regards to the racial politics is it harkens back to some of the international co-productions that Hollywood has always done back in primarily the late 50s and early 60s when television was being a problem for Hollywood, so they needed to make things bigger and better, and the best way to offset those, extreme costs was to pair up with other studios in other countries. So in the olden days, they would help defray costs by everyone essentially chipping in and producing the movies, usually overseas, like in Rome and Cinecittà, or in Mexico, or in France, and that usually led to international casts as well. The cast of The Great Wall is an international affair as well. We have got Matt Damon and
I didn't write that name down.
What's
his side?
Willem Dafoe.
Yes.
Matt Damon's sidekick in the movie is a Spanish actor, and the rest of the cast is filled out with big name Chinese stars that we've never heard of course, here in America. I think what China usually excels at are these really big, grand scale fantasy films that we unfortunately almost never get to see here in the West. And The Great Wall is an interesting peek into that. A slightly anglicized anglicized version of some of those large-scale fantasy movies that they're really good at making.
Yeah, it was totally amazing as the battles with these beasties unfolded.
The battles are fantastic. Far and above anything that Hollywood is doing right now.
Yeah, the infrastructure that you're led to believe is inside the Great Wall was incredible. I mean, there's a whole city running around inside that wall. It was really good. I wish we'd seen it on the big screen, because I think that would have been fun. But it's worth picking up, on Netflix or wherever you rent your flicks from, or catch it on HBO or wherever it lands on cable, because it's a good time.
Yeah. So if you're a fan of Matt Damon,
and he was really good,
or battling big green monsters from outer space in feudal China, give The Great Wall a try. Now, earlier this week, you talked to Pat when?
This week.
Just this week.
It was this week.
Yeah.
One of our few just-in-time interviews. I talked to Pat Henshaw. She's got some new books coming out in Foothills Pride, which is actually going to wrap up later this year.
Okay.
And we also take a look at what comes after that.
So I'm pleased to welcome back Pat Henshaw to the podcast. Pat is the author of the Foothills Pride series of novellas available from Dreamspinner Press. Just last week, she released Frank at Heart, which is the latest in that series. Welcome, Pat.
Hi, thank you.
Absolutely. Our pleasure to have you back. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has. I haven't been doing, I did Frank and I started some other projects, and so I've been busy writing.
Which is good. And I'm looking forward to talking about some of these other projects as well, having had a sneak peek before we started.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Frank at Heart. What's happening in this new Foothills Pride book?
Well, Frank is the local hardware owner, and it's a family business. It's been in the family for at least 3 generations, maybe longer than that. And one of the things about hardware is it was probably with bars the early businesses that opened during the gold rush and all the rest, because the miners came in, they had to have picks, they had to have, the pans, they had to have all the rest of the stuff. So Frank is dressing like his grandfather and like his father, and he thinks of himself as sort of unlovable because he's sort of the eunuch of the town, because they don't think of him in sexual terms. They think of him as Frank, the helpful guy, the guy you go into the hardware store and you say, my toilet isn't working. My sink has got a problem. I don't know what's happening with the lights in my house, that kind of thing. And Frank has the answers. He can do the project. He's, and so the people in town, nobody tries to fix him up. Nobody does anything else because he wears a bow tie and he looks geeky. And so he kind of has resigned himself to not being a love interest of anybody. And what he ends up doing, of course, is driving out of town to the gay bars in Sacramento and, picking up somebody, spending the night with them, and then coming back home into the hardware store, right? Walks Christopher Darling. And Christopher is everything that Frank has ever dreamed about. And it turns out that Christopher might actually like him. And so the story evolves from there. Christopher is on the rebound from getting a divorce from his husband. He has a teenage son named Henry, who is, quite frankly, one of my favorite characters. And so Frank kind of looks at him not only as a love interest, but he has a son. He has a built-in family. And family is what Frank really wants. And since they're both older men, this is another one that some people may call insta-love. I took one look at my husband, and I could see us together when we were old. I really could. Just that image was right there. So even though it took us a while to get together, I just knew, and that's the way Frank and Christopher sort of are.
Now, how did you get the inspiration to put a hardware store owner and a video game designer together and then throw in a teenager into that mix?
The hardware store owner, let me start there. I had an uncle, well, sort of a step uncle, who owned a general store in a rural Louisiana town. And I loved to go into his store. He had everything in this store. He had nuts, he had bolts, he had hammers, he had screws, he had everything, And he also had loaves of bread. And he had, electrical tape. And he had all this. So it was sort of this general store. And he was that kind of guy. People would come in and say, I've got this problem with my electricity. He would close down the store, go over their house, look at what was happening, go back to the store, get the parts he needed, come back, fix it, and then go back to the store and open it up again. And so I thought, that's a character that I really like. All of the Stone Acres stories, the Foothill Pride stories, are not angst-y sort of stories. They're good people, and there are outside forces that are not good people. But I want my characters to be flawed but decent people. Why Christopher as a games designer? I knew he came from the Bay Area. I knew he had just gone through the divorce, and I was looking for a job for him. What kind of jobs are available in the Bay Area that people get, that they have enough money to buy a house, which is what Christopher does, with cash, which Christopher does, okay, which sort of limited the choices I had. And so games designer was one of those things. I also knew people who had worked for big game design places, and they were making money hand over fist too. So, so I knew kind of those people, and so it just seemed like a natural fit. Plus, Christopher likes stuff. And when you're a game designer and that kind of thing, you want stuff to do stuff. You know what I mean? You want to flip switches. You want to walk through the dungeon and, have to jimmy open the chest, and see what's inside and that kind of stuff. So he likes stuff, and he likes the way stuff works. And so the hardware store is a perfect fit for him.
Sure, he'd be one of those people that hangs out at the hardware store.
Exactly. And picking up like a hinge and looking to see how it works and how he could figure out how to make it work in a game. And Henry, of course, is a chip off the old block. I mean, Henry has got his iPhone, and he's got all the games on it, and he's got, the Switch. He's already bought a Switch, and he's been using it forever now. even though it's been out, couple months?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So he's really up on this stuff, and he likes hardware and software, so he's really into this stuff.
He is his dad's son.
He is his dad's son. Even though they aren't biologically related, they are through the love of this stuff.
Now, what have we got still to come in Foothills Pride?
Okay, Foothills Pride is wrapping up. We've got 2 more books, and that's it. Then it's going to be an 8-book series. That's done. So the next one is called Waking the Bear, maybe.
Okay. Working title.
This thing has had maybe 6 titles, maybe 7 titles. Anyway, it's Ben Bear. And if you've read Bear Facts, this is the middle brother. This is Abe Bear's little brother. And he is kind of a woman's man, he ladies' man, that kind of thing. He's always considered himself heterosexual. He likes girls, kind of, but he doesn't particularly like men that way. He's just kind of, good old boy. He's just there. His brothers both came out in the Bear Facts, and he had no problem with it. Well, he had kind of a problem at first because he doesn't like to think of his brothers as having sex with anybody. Right? Doesn't matter if it's male or female. You just don't want to look at your brother and think of him having sex. But anyway, so he goes into, he's in the construction company, the same Bear construction company as his brothers, and goes into one of the abandoned buildings in Stone Acres, and there's this guy from the city who is a entrepreneur who's opened 4 bars in a bar-restaurant combinations in San Francisco, in different places in San Francisco, and he's smitten. It scares the hell out of him. He does not understand why he has this attraction. He doesn't understand. And so the whole book is him coming to terms with who he really is, and something he's never considered before and never thought about before. And so that's what it is. The most fun I had on this book is I got to make up 4 bars. And I got to put them in places in San Francisco that I really love. So anyway, so basically what the story is my country mouse, city mouse story of how these 2 guys get together when on the surface you look at them and you think, they have nothing in common. And they do. So you get a whole tour of the country, you get a whole tour of San Francisco through all of the bars, and
nice.
It's going to be fun. Anyway, September or October. Okay. Depending on how many more names we go through.
Well, based on what you just said, Waking the Bear sounds like a really good name because you're...
Yes. I think it's going to stick.
You're waking him up, so...
Yeah, right. I think it's going to stick. So we're just hoping. The other one is Short Order, about 2 guys who are shorter than normal. And or average, I guess, whatever. And the premise is you don't have to be tall, dark, and handsome. You can be short, dark, and handsome.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay. It has in it Fenn Miller, who's a UC Davis graduate, University of California, Davis, for people who don't know, in horticulture. And they have a lot of ag programs at UC Davis. A lot of things that go into vineyards, people who go into vineyards do that kind of thing, but also horticulture for things like what Fenn is in, which is bringing plants to impoverished areas. And the idea is that it makes everything in the environment much better. Mm-hmm. And so he's got 2 job offers. He just graduated. He doesn't know which one he wants to do. He has a cousin who runs a nursery in Stone Acres, And so he says yes when she says, hey, I need help. It's Christmas. I'm being overrun in my nursery here. You know plants. Please come. And he says, sure, I'll do it. He rents a room from John Barton, who you've seen in When Adam Fell. He was Adam's sous chef. And so they're both not really tall men. And so they get together. And not because of the hype, because they find a lot of things that they have in common. That's December. It's going to wrap the whole thing up.
Now, since you were here last in September of 2016, 3 of the Foothills Pride books have come out in audio.
Yes.
What's it like hearing these come to life?
Actually, I love my narrator, David Ross. I chose him. I had auditions for, narrators. And it's interesting to see what he emphasizes and how he envisions these characters. But I'm not an audiobook person. I do 2 or 3 things at once. So I listen to music while I'm, typing away at my books, that kind of thing. And with audiobooks, I either listen to the audiobooks, in which case I kind of feel like I've lost a half hour. And it's my book. I know where it's going. It's not like an audiobook that I've never heard. And I think, oh, that's kind of cool. Where's this going to go? It's like, so I still haven't gone through an entire book. And I feel bad about saying that.
That's okay. I know other authors who do the same.
Yeah. It's hard to listen to your own book.
What have you got coming up next? Foothills Pride's wrapping up. So, bring us a little bit into 2018 and give us an idea of what's on your calendar next.
Okay, well, I have a book series coming up, 3 book series coming up. It's called Iris House. It's about an older woman who it starts in her 60s. The 3 book series are her in her 60s, her in her 70s, her in her 80s. She decides that, she's got a 2-story house. She can't get up and down quite as well. She needs somebody to help her go shopping. If there are lights to change and stuff like that, she wants somebody in the house to do that kind of thing. And she'd like somebody to drive her around. It's not that she's having problems driving. She just had a little accident. No problem. But she thinks it'd probably be good if somebody else drove her around. And she's got bridge groups. She's got all these other things to do. So, yeah. So she goes and gets this guy from City College. He's a student. He's 28 years old. He's been living on the streets for 10 years since he was 18. And when his parents kicked him out of the house because he's gay. And he moves into her son's old apartment above the garage. She didn't tell her son that she's done this. He's 28. He's an attorney. He's just become, full-fledged attorney. He's got a job. And his mother tells him that somebody's in his old room. She's hired this guy without his help. And he's furious. He's absolutely furious. So it begins with the confrontation between the 2 guys, and it's about how they ultimately get together and both love Iris. So the second book that one's called My Own Michael. Michael is the guy who used to be on the street, who has a full sleeve tattoo, has piercings, all the things to make this attorney just love him. In her 70s, there's a break-in down the street. And so she decides that she's going to hire as one of the next boys, Iris's boys, an AJ student, Administration of Justice student from the college. And the guy who is his mentor says, no. Go get a job at the police substation. Go get a job. Don't work for this old lady. This is not helping your career any. This is a wrong move. And in the third one, she breaks a hip and needs help. And so goes to the nursing department at City College to get a wonderful character, a wonderful guy named Ox. And everybody thinks Ox is the slowest, dumbest, stupidest person in the world because he is slow. And it takes him a while to get things. But once he gets them, he's brilliant. He knows how to do things. He knows how to clear through the clutter and do what's necessary, and not worry about the rest of the stuff. Anyway, and it's about his conflict with the doctor. It's about what's going on right now in gerontology, which is, do you leave people at home to live at home and die at home, or do you put them into some sort of care? And he and the doctor knock heads on that and end up getting together. So now you don't even have to read the book.
Oh no, there's a lot of nuances in these that I like. I like how you're setting the romances around this, a character we don't normally see in romances, with this older woman who essentially now brings these men together. Exactly.
And because Iris's son is gay. She knows he's gay. He is closeted gay. He doesn't know. He doesn't even think and Michael keeps trying to tell him, look, if I had the parents you had, I wouldn't have been out on the street for 10 years. Just tell her. She's going to be fine with it. And Michael's no. That kind of thing. But guess where I got the idea of an older woman? Yes, indeed. My life in a book. Anyway.
Now, you've also got this other book that we were talking about called Buckaroo's Heart that's coming up. Tell us about that one, too, because I'm really into the description on this one, because it covers so many kind of interesting things in my view.
Well, I had 4 Foothills Pride books that I was going to write. Buckaroo's Heart was one of them. So I originally thought of it as a 12-book series. And Elizabeth said to me, no, we don't want that one as a Foothills Pride. We want that as a full-length novel on its own. I said, well, which of course, as a writer, this immediately makes you go, whoa, do I have enough to talk about?
That's a lot more words.
And it's a lot more plot than you were thinking about, But Buckaroo's Heart is about this guy named Jake. And he's an functionally illiterate cowboy. He can read a few words. He can read words like stop, which is always handy to have when you go into town, that kind of thing. But he can't fill out forms. He can't do any of that kind of stuff. Fortunately, he has a friend named Hank who can do that. So he hangs around with Hank a lot. He and Hank become redundant because now ranches have very few cowboys. Cowboys are expensive. You can do all of cowboying on Jeeps and Land Rovers and that kind of thing. And so suddenly here's Jake at age 35 or 38, I can't remember. Sorry. Once you get up to 30s, yeah, right. And he's out of a job. And he doesn't know what other job he can get in a small, rural ranching community in Wyoming. And so he goes into town, and there's a job placement center and a counselor named Les. And Les has to figure out what to do with Jake, other than love him, which works out well, but doesn't bring in any money for Jake.
Right.
And so Les has got to not only find him a job, but the right job that makes him feel fulfilled. So that's all the things I'm working on.
That is awesome. That's a lot, too.
Yeah, it turns out to be, this whole thing, my husband said, I turned 70 last week. And my husband said to me, so now we're wrapping down, right? We're ramping down. And
Has he seen your production schedule?
Well, it depends on what you mean by ramping down. Anyway, so yeah, the ramp is kind of going up. But anyway.
It's a fun ramp, though. That's for sure.
It's a fun ramp. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, Pat, thank you so much for coming and talking to us. Wish you the best of success with Frank at Heart and the rest of Foothills Pride coming out this year.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
In Somewhere on Mackinac by Jeff Adams, Jordan Monroe travels to Mackinac Island for the Somewhere in Time fan celebration weekend. Once there, he becomes attracted to local stable owner Miles Coulter. When Jordan learns the stable's in trouble, he wants to help despite Miles' resistance. As their relationship grows, he dreads the issues that face them. Can they forge a love as timeless as the romance in their favorite film? Find out in Somewhere on Mackinac by Jeff Adams. Available from DreamSpinnerPress.com, Amazon.com, and other ebook retailers.
So that'll do it for this week's episode. Coming up in episode 88, Christina will be here with some summertime book recommendations.
Cool.
Thank you for listening, guys. Until next time, keep reading.
For detailed show notes and the complete episode backlist, go to biggayfictionpodcast.com. New episodes are available every Monday on all major podcast distributors and YouTube. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.